actually benefit from really being friends with them rather than competing.
So how did you make the transition from levers to pens?
Well,
is that when you retired?
I retired, and I was lucky because, of course, when you work overseas, the great thing is you can retire early. And I was very lucky. I retired early. But in my last period, I was actually seconded to the Department of Trade and Industry in London for 2.5 years. So I spent 2.5 years helping the DTI to set up the innovation unit in the Ministry of Trade, as it was. And then Heseltine took over. So I suppose I worked for Heseltine for about, must have been about 12 months. And the innovation unit, was a very good. This was the early 90s, but it was really focused on, getting the UK to have a manufacturing base again rather than.
Which is gone.
So it was a little bit political, but the point was that it was a good area for small business. So when I retired, my main aim really was to practice what I preached, and because I had a hobby of classic cars, and I also started with my father to go to a lot of auctions, we decided to set up a classic car business. But unfortunately my father died. And that really was a big blow to me, because I couldn't really work without his brain and his ear and his way. So, but I still loved going to the auctions, and just by chance I went to an auction down in London in Montpellier Street, which is opposite Harrods, which was selling fountain pens. And that actually whetted my appetite for the pens.
Yeah.
But it also made me think, because one of the pens that my father had left me was a 1934, and I just put it there, but it has his signature on it, and the point is that it has his signature on it in his handwriting, and the point about that was that Parker offered that for this particular model, the Golden Web, and then they offered it for a lot of their other pens in the 1930s. But this must have been 1937 when my grandmother bought it for my father.
So what would that be worth now, Jim?
A good Golden Web like this is probably worth about £250 to £300.
Yes, yeah, that much.
And at its, and it probably cost about £2.50 or £2 10 shillings. But that was really a point that, having been to this auction, I found out that there were people in London who could repair pens, so I sent it to them, and I got it back and it didn't write properly, and I sent it back to them, and they sent it back and said it was done again, and it wasn't, and I was really fed up. Now, my father and I had been doing things an awful lot more complicated with old cars than pens, so I decided that I would find out about it. I went into the library in London. And the great thing was, having been to Imperial College, I could go into most of the libraries around there, and I found information on pens. And I found a diagram of it, and I repaired it.
So you learnt it from books,
I learned,
not from somebody else?
I learnt it really just by reading. And also sending off to America, because that was where I had to get the parts.
Because there was no YouTube then, was there?
No, none at all.
No instruction videos anywhere.
And there was no internet to search for it either. That was the thing.
Yeah.
But having gone to the auction in the Bonhams auction, I met about 4 or 5 people, and at that time I was actually working in Victoria for the DTI as well. So it all fitted nicely together, and I really became very, very interested in pens. And that was really the thing. It was a combination of my father's pen not being repaired properly, and the fact that I actually liked the design, there was such a variation of different types of colours, etc.